Maggie here, the PlayStation Underground's new computer-generated host. I'm supposed to introduce each issue, but as you may or may not know, 3D graphics like me are expensive, so I've been told not to waste any time.
Alright, Maggie, they probably already know that, so just tell them what's on this issue.
Chill out, Pushy. I was just introducing myself. Our producer, too many cappuccinos.
I heard that.
Yeah, well, lighten up. Okay, let's get down to it. First up, we got a chance to sit down with some of Sony's heavy hitters, including Ken Kutaragi, Kaz Hirai, and Phil Harrison, to get the exclusive 411 on the product everyone is saving their arcade quarters for, the next generation of PlayStation. Then, I got to rack up the frequent flyer miles and expand my anime collection as we headed over to the land of the rising sun. We got to check out this year's hot new titles at the Tokyo Game Show and spend some quality time with the creators of Star Ocean and Jammer Lammy. That Lammy plays a mean guitar with her riffs and my moves. Talk about your girl power! We also got to spend some time down in sunny Southern California at the video game industry's largest trade show, E3. Check out our evaluators' picks of the show. Well, that's a tiny portion of what we've got crammed into this issue. When you're done trying out the import title, downloading stuff for your memory card, and checking out every nook and cranny of CD1, grab your controller and head over to the vault. The new demos include Final Fantasy VIII, MLB 2000, and Ape Escape, just to name a few. Alright, how was that?
Not bad, can you speed it up?
Sure, how's this? First, I got to rack up the frequent flyer miles and expand my anime collection as we head over to the land of the rising sun. We got to check out this year's...
Hey Buzz, you didn't throw out those CG host resumes, did you?
Star Ocean and Jammer Lammy.
Welcome to Part 5 of Project Wormhole. In this issue, we introduce new weapon and enemy types, as well as a brand new car. In response to popular demand, we have added support for the DualShock analog controller and enhanced sound effects. We also added some special effects to improve the look of the game. These included some nice-looking explosions and weapon effects. Those tiny missiles from the last issue sure were hard to see, so we attached some smoke trails to help them stand out. We use a series of translucent sprites to draw the smoke. A sprite is a two-dimensional image that we create ahead of time in a graphics program on a PC. To make it look like real smoke and fire, it should be translucent. We want to be able to see through it at least a little bit. We use the same thing for the explosion so you can see how it looks. Creating good special effects takes a careful combination of programming and art. In the next section, check out some of the things we created, then preview what will happen in Wormhole Part 6.
Prepare yourself.
Next issue, Project Wormhole continues as we look at adding articulated objects to our world. Keep your ideas coming on how to make our minigame great. See what other people are suggesting by visiting www.playstation.com and choosing PlayStation Underground online. Post your own ideas there or mail them to us at this address. Wormhole is a team effort and we want to know what you think. The next PlayStation is coming. As a PlayStation Underground subscriber, you get a front row seat.
Our dream from a business point of view is to grow the market for computer entertainment into a superset of music and movies, so that video gaming and computer entertainment becomes a legitimate mass market entertainment.
We formed the new team for the next generation of PlayStation immediately after launching PlayStation. So we started to think about the next architecture for the system in 1995.
The design of the next generation PlayStation was put together to achieve a very singular goal, which was to allow the game player to experience TV quality images and the same level of emotional experience that you would get from watching a great film, reading a great book, or listening to a great piece of music.
How do you do that? I think the key word for the next generation PlayStation is emotion. How do you convey emotion of the game characters?
Realistic facial animation. As you're looking at me now on this camera, you can see that my face moves whilst I talk, and as my mouth moves, that the muscles stretch. And that's what realism is all about, is being able to get the subtlety of movement into the 3D graphics. The new system is going to open up a whole new avenue of creative expression. Today, great games like Gran Turismo and Tekken and Game Day are at the pinnacle of their genre on the current platform. But they use relatively simple technology to create that experience. In the next generation of a driving game, for example, on the new PlayStation, we will be able to simulate thousands of different elements of what makes a car work. The tire physics, the friction, the fact that it's now snowing, the fact that it's now raining, and that these are having a physically accurate impact on the way that the game handles. This allows for a wide variety of gaming experiences to be generated. In the current world of game development, you would use motion capture to establish the animation of a character. But going forward, we can now start to physically and biologically simulate how a human being works. And we can use some very complex algorithms called inverse kinematics and dynamics to simulate the entire physical skeleton of a player. Each player uses 10,000 polygons. To put this in context, Game Day and Madden use about 250 polygons per player. But it's also important to remember that beautiful graphical experiences aren't necessarily generated by millions of polygons, but by the best special effects and the most subtle use of lighting, pixels and texture mapping. It's not all about winning a huge polygonal race, but this is a race of beauty. This demo that we're showing right now shows some real powerful lighting and animation techniques called motion blur. Now this allows us to track the speed at which an object moves, and just like in real life, if I move quickly, there is a persistent blur behind the object. Each one of these firecracker particles is being rendered many times onto the screen. In fact, this demo is being drawn at 60 frames a second, but it's actually being rendered at 600 frames a second. And we can also freeze it like this, just like you see in some TV commercials right now where you can spin the camera around and the object is frozen. Once again, there are tremendous creative possibilities with this. If somebody throws a ball in a baseball game, or a fast-moving car overtakes you, or a laser beam from a weapon. These demos give you just some of the hints of the building blocks of where we can go creatively and entertainment-wise with the new system, and that's what it's all about.
The most aggressive challenge was the semiconductor. So the current chipset utilized for half-micron semiconductor technology. But what we are now challenging is 0.18 very high-end semiconductor technologies. It was very difficult. Finally, we could develop the nice chipset for CPU. We call it that Emotion Engine. That contains over 10 million transistors on the chip. That's a little bit bigger than the latest Pentium 3.
We have built the fastest multimedia processor on the planet. What allows us to achieve this performance is by having a very dedicated and single-minded design for the chip. Other chips in the world have to appear in everything from vacuum cleaners to PCs and the desktop. What we designed into the Emotion engine was the power and performance required specifically for the intensive 3D graphics capabilities and demands of the next generation of software, plus technology like floating point coprocessors and also abilities like the decoding of MPEG-2 video streams from our DVD disc.
By the time we make a product announcement, the technology for modem and modem connectivity may take another leap forward. Once we actually make the product announcement, then we should be able to say what kind of connectivity the PlayStation will actually have. I'd like to see controls that are not necessarily in terms of having more buttons or levers. I think there are enough already, and you only have 10 fingers.
I'm speaking to you now, so why shouldn't the device react to my voice? I should be able to wave at it and do things like this. A video camera could pick up these motions, interpret them, and generate a response on the screen. The next generation PlayStation uses 3 industry standard interfaces as part of the technology. We have IEEE 1394, which is called iLink, used in the next generation of digital video devices like still cameras and video cameras. We can now have digital media in as well as out. Now what I mean by that is being able to put my face or your face into the game. USB, which stands for Universal Serial Bus, allows us to connect to a huge variety of standard peripherals like joysticks and keyboards and mice and a whole bunch of things that haven't even been invented yet. And PCMCIA gives us connectivity to devices like modems, memory devices, even hard drives and other standard computing devices. Well, let's be very clear about this. The next generation PlayStation is designed specifically for high-end in-home entertainment. Now, right now that means video games. We will broaden the definition of what entertainment means over time, but we're not building a PC here.
It's really an interactive entertainment console. The next generation PlayStation is also backward compatible, which means that any PlayStation titles that you have in your current library will also play on the next generation PlayStation. And I think this is the first time in the interactive entertainment industry where a console has done that. The picture has 100 years history, and the music has over 1,000 years history, but the computer has only 26 and 7 years history.
We're only starting to scratch the surface of the emotion that we can put into games. If somebody was to burst into tears as a result of experiencing a next generation PlayStation game because of the raw power of the emotion that is inside the product and the storytelling, then we've all succeeded in our jobs. We now have the power inside the next generation PlayStation to do things in software that have never ever been done before. I'm not quite sure where it's going to go, and that's what makes it exciting.
Hot guitar licks have made her an international megastar overnight, even though her first release, Jammer Lammy, won't hit stores until August.
So who is Lammy? What's the name Jammer Lammy all about? And what's she really like? The publicity-shy star has refused all interviews and hides from the press off stage. But we crisscrossed Japan to track down members of her staff, including manager Masaya Matsuda, the man who made Parappa the Rapper famous.
Katie, Parappa's friend, introduced us. Lammy seemed quiet and reserved at first.
People ask where she came from. There are rumors she was born with a guitar in her hand.
When she picks up the guitar, she goes wild. There's something in her music that really reaches people.
Lammy and I have a relationship. It's a one-sided love affair. I won't say who to whom. I play sad songs about her on my guitar.
Her old chick band, Milk Can, has been asked to play clubs across the US. We're considering it.
There's a new rock star in town. What's her story? You get it first. Her demo's waiting in the vault. Next issue, footage from her earliest days reveals a Lammy nobody knows. You can hold 6 whole cartridge games on one CD. Of all types of games, RPGs need that extra space the most. That's why more and more role-playing games are coming out on PlayStation. And of all of them, one is the most vast and engaging RPG ever. It's called Star Ocean, the second story. We visited Enix in Japan to meet the team and find out the features that make this game so big and successful.
I think conventional RPGs are too easy. I wanted to make a game as challenging as a traditional old-time RPG, with a deep storyline and complex systems so true RPG fans can really enjoy it.
One feature that deepens gameplay is that you can experience the story from 2 different viewpoints. Play as either Claude or Rena, reluctant heroes who join forces to fight evil. Another innovative feature is that unlike many RPGs, you can truly control who joins your party. And when you reach town, something unique happens.
In a traditional RPG, a group stays together in a town. But this game imitates life where people split up and seek their own thing. The story changes depending on whom you decide to follow.
There are over 80 endings in this game. It was hard to stop coming up with more because there's so many ways the characters could come together.
Battles have more choices too. You can choose to play them in real time, just like in a fighting game. And a skill system lets you grow each character uniquely.
One might become a karate guy, another a swordsman, another might learn to fight with his bare hands. Several characters' skills can be joined in a link combo. It's fun to discover what a chain reaction is like.
Hurricane Flat! Dragon Breath!
There's a great visual effect for every kill or move in the game.
Each character's emotional level is tracked, and this changes how they think and act. If you choose to have 2 characters become friends, the death of one in a battle might trigger intense rage and wild new attacks from the other. Other skills also make the gameplay deeper. Choose abilities like composing, cooking, or metallurgy. Then use those skills to create, customize, or find over 1,000 items.
When you find a stone or a jewel, it might be useless if you keep it as is, but with your skills, you can make it into something else, like a custom weapon.
All these new features give you a freedom that challenges your creativity. One player found a way to finish the whole game with no one else in his party. Another learned to create a tower of people in a fight. With so many possibilities and endings, players in Japan have reported easily spending over 100 hours exploring Star Ocean. It's getting a reputation as the most vast RPG ever, with gameplay as big as its name.
Imagine getting paid to check out all the new games that want to be on the PlayStation platform. That's what the game evaluators do. Hey, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. At E3, the biggest game trade show of the year, we got two evaluators, Chris Cologne and Mark Vitello, to pick what they thought were some of the coolest new titles. Here are just a few of them.
If you're a big fan of Japanese anime or giant combat, Omega Boost is the game for you. Omega Boost is a really cool game that was created by the developers of Gran Turismo. Incredible graphics, the gameplay speed is unbelievable. We got 19 diverse stages, true 3D, free-roaming environments, so players can attack and be attacked from all directions. You have ground-based missions, you also have missions that take place in space. You have missions where you're actually inside spaceships shooting at enemies. So the gameplay will never repeat itself. It is truly amazing. Burning around town, cops on your butt, that's Driver.
The idea behind Driver really was to create a game which is a simulation, or the closest possible simulation to Hollywood car chases and TV shows. Things such as The Dukes of Hazzard, Smokey and the Bandit. One of the things that we really tried to make different about this game is that most driving games or racing games taking place on a normal looping track. With Driver, you can actually drive anywhere. There's around 30 miles of road in each city, four-wheel independent suspension. Or you can see as you go flying over the hills of San Francisco, all the cars are also leaping off the road. This is the chase that I've just had. Now, it's stored the entire chase, so I can play that chase back like this. I can stop the camera at any time, stop the motion, and then I can insert a camera, and I can choose between various cameras.
This year's survival horror has a new name, Dino Crisis.
Dino Crisis is looking awesome due to the 3D polygonal background, the amazing CG intro, and all of the other gameplay elements that made Resident Evil series so popular. Some of the things that make the game suspenseful are the way the dinosaurs act like they're hunting you as their prey. They like to play with you, they like to run after your character, they'll stop and stare at you and come at you. At all costs, they're trying to get you. Resident Evil is like a haunted house. Dino Crisis was like a roller coaster. Much more in your face, jumping out of windows, smashing through doors.
One of the best dogfighting games around on the PlayStation is without a doubt Ace Combat 3.
One of the coolest new features in Ace Combat 3 is the ability to look around your plane from first-person point of view to third-person point of view. This allows you to actually track your enemies much easier, and it's all done in real time, so gameplay is not affected when you do it. So one of the cool things that we're seeing right now is the ability to look backwards. It's one thing that's been added to the game that you couldn't do before. The story is always changing. In the beginning, you can become a peacekeeping officer. The next minute, you're a renegade, and this is all done in real time.
Marvel's outlaw heroes come to 3D life in Activision's X-Men.
What we have here is X-Men. It's probably the greatest comic book franchise in the history of comic books, and it's a syndicated television running 5 years. We have 14 characters pulled from all of the X-Men history, as well as Age of Apocalypse alternatives, with extra moves, extra abilities, making for really great gameplay. Real-time motion blur, a dynamic fighting camera system, which will allow the camera to move around the arena in ways that enhance the 3D feel of the fight.
Big wheelies, big air. That's Championship Motocross featuring Ricky Carmichael.
The greatest thing about Championship Motocross featuring Ricky Carmichael is its physics engine. The challenge with motocross is creating sensation that's not just like racing a skinny car, but rather racing a two-wheeled motorcycle that is very difficult to control, especially on loose dirt or other grassy, wet surfaces like that. There's a lot of big air. So you can see that you can just get huge air and rip really sick tricks. There are over 12 unique tracks in the game, and it's real tight. There's a lot of collisions, and you really got to stay out in front of the pack.
Crash is back in the race of his life with Crash Team Racing.
Naughty Dog is very excited for the first time in many years to be bringing a totally new engine to the PlayStation for Crash Team Racing, 4th Crash Bandicoot series. It's totally new, 1-player, 2-player, 3-player, 4-player racing game. You go through over 20 levels, and now for the first time you get to play as Crash, Coco, Cortex, Engine, Tiny Tiger, all of the good guys, all of the bad guys. There are over 13 characters to play as. It's head-to-head combat like you've never seen before on the PlayStation.
These are just 7 of the many cool games at E3. For more first looks, watch upcoming issues of the PlayStation Underground.
Maria, are you going to the Tokyo Game Show?
Yep, I've got my ticket.